Hey everybody, Bill still in Virginia, and we are back over at Jerry's. So this may be the near final update on Jerry's build. Just got here a few minutes ago. Jerry's been walking me through. You can see he's got building placements. He's got some scene dividers that he's still, looking at and how he wants to do things. But we're going to continue to walk. I'm going to let Jerry continue to talk about what he's doing and just record so you can hear his thoughts on his layout and what he's wanting to do with it. So Jerry, take it away again.
Well, Bill, first of all, thank you for getting us to this point. It's been fantastic, much more than I ever thought I would be able to achieve. And it's just amazing to me how much more of an idea I'm getting now, being able to run it in 3 dimensions and see. And one example I was about to point out is on the plan, I had this scene divider coming this way. Mm-hmm. But as you stand here, you really want to get a wider view. You really want to be welcomed in. And so opening up like this becomes more of a welcome and a way to really take a better view of what's going on as we go further into the layout.
Yeah, that does work. Yeah, that sweeping curve here. As we talked long ago, on how you want to camouflage and do for the scene dividers, sweeping curve gives you a little bit more opportunity if you want to put trees, if you want to, paint or use a blue backdrop. There's things you can do that can kind of blend it in so that you're seeing the train come through and then sweep just like it is here.
Yeah. And another aspect that I knew I was going to run into that I anticipated generally, but this is a specific example. I had taken actual pictures of the old RF&P passenger station that is at the junction here by Hanover Tower in Doswell. And
Nice.
clearly
Yeah.
I had to scrunch up the number of windows in order to fit it into the actual space I have. And I think what may work better is just going ahead and cutting out 2 of the windows. Selective compression by eliminating some of the elements. And I think I'll still achieve the same visual of, that's the station that was built at Doswell Junction, but have it look a little bit more realistic. I still plan to do that with photos. I think this is far enough into the layout, and there'll be other elements here. There'll be obviously train cars and engines on the track that it will serve its purpose and be a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, for sure. So what brand of engine is this? Is this an Atlas?
It's an Atlas, yeah.
Oh, that runs so nice, so slow.
Well, yeah, I've run several of the Atlas engines, and I think the 4 actual versions I have in different configurations, maybe basically the same engine, but they all run like this. In fact, this one may be a little bit noisy. We're thinking about it. I might want a little bit of lubrication on it. Although, not having sound cards in it, that may be pretty realistic.
I was going to say a nice kind of a growl on the engine.
There you go.
I think it sounds pretty good.
And I just love the clickety-clack of the joints, particularly when you get to the crossings here. But in other places too with the switches, to me that adds some realism as well.
Yeah, I'm taking a whole bunch of N-scale track with me when I go back to Thailand. I bought like a big box of it at the hobby shop when I was back in Iowa.
All right.
And I decided, you know what, I'm going to take N-scale because it had a number of switches, just tons of pieces, crossovers, so that, I'm actually going to probably take inspiration from your layout because you designed this so well that when I get there and I actually start doing it, not exactly like yours, but I mean, you can do so much in such a tight little space, which is really cool.
So as we come around here, one of the issues that I'm going to run into is that I'm using 2-sided scene dividers, and fitting them in where I want meant that I needed to curve them in a number of places. And initially I'm thinking, well, I'll just use Masonite for it. What I didn't realize is I'm really going far beyond what masonite is capable of doing in terms of bending it. So what I did was I went around to the various art supply stores, and from Michael's got some mat board for mounting pictures, and tested out. They had several different thicknesses. Some of them really composites in and of themselves, and found one that was about the thickest that I could get, and still bend it in maybe as small as 8 or 9 inches of radius in order to fit it in this particular curve.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not I can mount it and keep it in shape, that's something I wanted to discuss with you while you're here. Another option is fall back on masonite, but just understand that I'm going to have some joints and some sections of it that are still going to be straight, but will enable me to follow as closely as possible these curves, which are as small as 9 inches.
So, just thinking out loud already here, because how I would do it if it were me. Like, and I'm sure you're going to probably trim maybe a little bit, so it's not close to the track and different stuff. But if you keep it pinned and it's flush to the deck, you could put like beads of white glue or carpenter's glue right along the seam, and then use that to kind of build up a little scenery.
Okay.
Put a little rock, put a little ground cover, and if you do it on both sides, that's going to hold this in place.
Okay.
It will glue it solid, and then after the glue sets, take out the pins.
Okay.
And then you can do other things that you want. If you're going to paint this backdrop, or if you're going to add maybe some trees in some of it, not right close to the track, but on some of these, if you build up trees, kind of hide it, make it blue, there's things you can do, but that would hold it in place.
Okay.
At least to my way of thinking. You don't want to use super glue, because super glue would get through the paint, and super glue just melts the paint foam board. But yellow glue, perfect, especially wood glue, because it tacks quick.
Oh, is it? Okay.
You'd be able to get that down, and it would not go anywhere. Well, your scene's going to trash your train right there.
Oh, goodness.
It fell over. I'm talking too much hot air.
Oh, no, that's good, that's good. There are a couple places here where, in essence, I wanted to make the scene divider a little bit thicker, if you will, because I think visually it might help. This may be too thick, maybe something closer to that. But again, it's really more a matter of seeing what works.
Yeah, it's entirely up to you, and when you get to that point that you feel comfortable with it, then it's on to the next step. Glue it down, paint it, whatever, and build trees, whatever it is that you're interested in doing to blend it in. I will say I like how you've compartmentalized the layout. Now I'll bring this up so people at home can see it. So the seam dividers really do an effective job of blocking out different parts of the layout. And with the layout being a good chest high, that forces you to really walk around the layout to see everything.
Exactly.
So you do have that transition from like this scene on in over to the crossover, on into other places on the layout, which is really cool.
For me, I have these mocked up scene dividers at 5 inches. I think I've decided to go up to 6 inches. But for me at 5'7", that seems to work. For somebody who's taller, they may want something a little bit taller. I didn't want to close it in too much.
Yeah, you've got enough space that, with the buildings that you're putting in, and eventually, you can put in the road crossovers where you want. You've got room in some of these for, again, forest trees that you want to put into it, and other details. So you will have a lot of individual standalone scenes that as you're following the train, you're crossing into something very different just in a very short amount of space. I like it.
Yeah, one of the things that I've really enjoyed, even with no scenery, but just what I put out now in terms of buildings and scene dividers, is taking various positions as a rail fan and saying what would it look like if I was here, seeing the train come in, come toward me and then see it go away that way.
Yeah. Now that's nice.
This area right here is a bit of a challenge in that I don't know that I ever anticipated when I first started out that I would have one scene that actually cuts completely across the width of the layout. But even the way the track plan is basically a figure 8, it seemed a shame not to be able to view that particular scene, the crossing, from both angles.
Yeah, yeah. And you could, you know, again, depending upon what you end up with for final building layout, you know, you could put maybe a couple of trees or something just as a partial view block. It doesn't stop from looking through, but it brings the eye to the area that you, that you want to see.
And this particular wing of the scene divider actually isn't intended to be a full scene divider. This would be one place where the tracks are so close, it really would be more matter of putting in a few trees just to begin to define a separation, but not try to have it a solid scene divider.
Yeah, and what you could do too is that when you get to the point of trees, again, you know, if you use my method or other people's methods, it would be easy to build the trees prototypical for Virginia that have the trunks up quite a ways before you actually get to the foliage.
Exactly.
So that, you know, you could have it overhanging the rails and have it in a tight spot, and it still would work prototypically, and you're not going to have fouling because of the trees.
Yeah, I would envision that probably the top 2 inches, maybe a little bit more of the divider will be a sky blue. And then beyond that will be whatever it takes to begin to indicate some depth of foliage.
And for that, again, just sort of my recommendation, my thought anyway on it, because it worked well for me for the O scale, is sky blue on top. I would almost paint like the bottom ½ inch to an inch black, so that it really forces the depth, and then, you know, you could add a little bit of browns and then some dark greens to kind of indicate trees if you're putting trees on it. And even on some of the tight scene divides, if you don't have much space, when the paint's wet, you could throw like woodland scenics, turf, and other things at it to give it that 3D texture, and you're not losing any more than like a fraction of an inch, but you can give that illusion that you've got stuff there growing, and it's growing up on your divider.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found in beginning to place buildings is I've probably eliminated about half a dozen buildings that I originally had on the two-dimensional plan, because it just looks too dense for the small towns that I'm modeling. In a couple cases, you're talking about what may not be atypical of some towns around Virginia, where originally the town was plotted out to have a whole bunch of small lots and small homes, and relatively few of them were ever built, so they're kind of scattered out. It's a town, but relatively few of them around, and to try to capture that, it's the old saying, less is more sometimes.
It's true. You know, you have those little vacant lots where you can put some details, or, you know, sort of like a beside the building parking lot where people kind of come in, and you got 3 or 4 spaces. You can put cars, a little gravel lot, different things you can do to make it look busy, but not too busy. And because if you have like too many buildings packed in, to your point, then you actually can't put in details. You have buildings, you might have a road, but you can't put those little mini scenes in there, you know, really will grab your attention.
The densest scene that I have is a town that in reality probably has the most active and vibrant 2-block downtown that I think I've seen virtually anywhere. That would be in Gordonsville. And even there's some buildings I had thought about putting in that are just not going to make it. I'm assuming that if I use something like a latex paint on mat board, even though it's basically paper? That
It'll be
so
okay. Yeah,
it'll work
yeah,
okay.
yeah, it'll be okay. Latex paint will work fine. And, you know, if you want, I've got some. I've got the same blue that I used on my bone scale. I've still, like in quart cans, I've still got some.
Goodness, that would be nice.
I'll give it to you.
Thanks. I'll make sure that on the write-up I did on the layout, I give you credit for that, as well as...
I'll take it. Any credit.
There you go.
It's my after-school credit.
There you go.
But yeah, no, I'll, you know, sometime maybe later this week, I'll swing by real quick and drop it off.
That'd be great.
Because I've got to look. I'm pretty sure I have not packed it yet. If I've packed it, then I'll let you know and I'll say sorry.
Well, then, it's certainly not going to be worth shipping it, that's for sure.
No.
By the way, I have kept up with what you're doing, both in terms of what you post on your YouTube channel, but also being back on track, the group get together Saturday morning.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got all kinds of fun stuff that I'm doing. I've got the O-scale layouts down at Virginia Transportation Museum. The N-scale and HO scales now I've got not disassembled, but everything is off that hasn't been glued down and put into boxes. All of my trains are boxed up. My shop stuff is boxed up. I'm planning on getting a U-Haul next week because I closed on the house yesterday in Iowa.
All right.
So I've got the house already, and all I have to do is load up, and I'll take the HO and the N scale. I'm going to actually do that. I'll load them by myself onto a U-Haul truck. I know how I'm going to do it, and I think it'll work. If not, they'll still go on the U-Haul truck, but maybe not quite in as pristine as condition as I think.
I think that home and the outbuilding in Iowa, as you described it, are about as close to ideal as I would imagine you.
It is. I'll turn off filming now, folks, and then I'm going to show Jerry the picture of that house.